Hello, Miss Landry. So for my final oral, I decided to speak about the subject of rape, more specifically how rape can affect someone's life forever, and how building new relationships and finding trust can be hard for a victim of rape. So I find it important to define the word rape. As we can see in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, the definition is kind of lengthy, so to put it into shorter terms, rape is when someone is being forced into sexual intercourses with another individual without giving consent. Now let's talk about how rape is seen in the novel and how the protagonist finds it hard to find trust in the relationships throughout the rest of the short story. So as we know, the novel Stone Mattress is divided in multiple short stories, and the short story of named Stone Mattress presents the topic of rape. It is actually the story of the protagonist Verna, who was raped when she was a young girl, but the story takes place 50 years later when she actually decides to murder her rapist. So throughout the whole short story, we can see how rape made Verna lose trust in men and how it was difficult for her to love someone and to find trust for the rest of her life after the traumatic event that she's lived. So what proofs do we have about rape affecting someone's life forever? So regardless age, gender, and physical harm, rape actually affects the victim's mental health very badly. And the trauma of being raped is seen through different side effects, such as being fearful for their lives, feeling ashamed, lonely, having nightmares, flashbacks, and unpleasant memories. There are different ways to cope with rape and recover from rape. So first, it is very important for the victim to open up and to talk to someone that they can trust, because they won't feel judged. They will only feel loved and accepted for who they are. Also, it is important for a victim to join a support group, because with that they can see that they aren't alone and other people have lived what they are living, and their goal is to recover and to be able to find trust in someone and find love in the future without being fearful of living another traumatic event like they've had in the past. It is also important for the victim to cope with the feelings of guilt. It is known that victims of rape think that they were the cause of the incident, but a victim has to understand that they weren't, and they shouldn't be the ones who are taking the blame for the act. Also, it is important for a victim to prepare for flashbacks, because the body goes into fight or flight mode, which is a sort of panic attack due to PTSD. PTSD, which stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. And what a victim can do is, to reduce flashbacks or upsetting memories. First, it is important for the victim to anticipate and prepare for triggers such as different environment, places, familiar faces, and many more, and also to pay attention to your body's danger signals. So where do we see this in real life? So with RQ Calix, it's actually a Canadian statistic website. I found this image. Yes, it's in French, but the information is still very valid. So we can see that 1 out of 3 women are actually victim of sexual assault, and those are from cases that were declared. Many people don't open up about what they've lived, which is very sad, because they aren't seeking the help that they are supposed to. And we can see that 82% of victims of rape are actually women, which is actually very scary. So like I said in the past slide, 1 in 3 women in Canada have been raped. Also, it is very common in relationships that rape is common in relationships, which is actually very sad, because the victim will think that will happen for the rest of their life, and finding trust and building new relationships will be hard for that person. Also, girls and boys can be sexually assaulted. Boys we see more in Asian, African, and Middle Eastern countries. On another note, in the novel Stone Mattress, there was a quote that I found very interesting on page 229. It was where we could see that Verna kept the miserable event a secret. So it says, and she hadn't, but her silence had done her no good. So I strongly believe that if Verna opened up and talked about what she lived when she was young, she would, her trusting people would have been easier, and her seeking help would have helped her find love and not being fearful for her life throughout the whole short story. Do any social scientists or psychologists back this idea up? So with YouTube, I watched multiple videos which helped me understand what psychologists and doctors say about this epidemic. So basically, Dr. Hughes is a psychologist, and she talks about the psychological effects of rape. And also Dr. Harris, which I really loved her TED Talk. She gives a strong monologue about how, the effects of a trauma on the development of the brain. So I put both links down below. I find Harris's video very interesting, which I'm gonna play a small part.
And yet doctors today are not trained in routine screening or treatment. Now the exposure I'm talking about is not a pesticide or a pathogen chemical. It's childhood trauma. Okay, what kind of trauma am I talking about here? I'm not talking about failing a test or losing a basketball game. I am talking about threats that are so severe or pervasive that they literally get under our skin and change our physiology. Things like abuse or neglect, or growing up with a parent who struggles with mental illness or substance dependence. Now,
is there any research or books that speak of this epidemic? So multiple books, for example, Stone Mattress, talk about this subject and how it can affect someone's life forever. And different books that won awards for their storyline and for how impactful they are talk about rape. There are also many TED Talks, for example, the one I just showed you, but there are also different TED Talks of victims who testify what they've lived and how it is hard for them to trust people and to find love after such a traumatic event that happens in their life. Also, why I chose this subject and how it is interesting to me. So basically, I chose the subject of rape because it's something I hold very dearly to my heart. It is actually very scary to know that 82% of victims are women, because you and I are women. And also one of my friends who who was actually raped at the age of 16, she's now 18, was able to share with me her story. So I am helping her cope with the side effects and how important, and I want her to understand how it's important for me to be by her side and to show her that she isn't alone, because I want her to seek help. I want her to be able to build relationships and find trust, and to understand that this one moment did not define her whole life. So finally, maybe you see it differently. So I've always understood what rape was, but with the research I've done, I now understand how rape can affect someone's life forever, and how it is important to seek help and to understand what rape actually is. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed my oral, and I hope you learned new things on the topic of rape. Have a nice day.